The title of my talk tonight is Perception. But before I can get into that, I would like to give you all some perspective on who I am and why I'm giving this talk. 2 years ago today, I very well could have been sitting in one of the seats you all are sitting in now. I graduated from PalmHarbor University High School in May of 2018. My high school experience was similar to most others. I was a member of the National Honor Society and completed the International Baccalaureate program here. I played on the varsity soccer team for 3 years. I had a lot of great memories in that number 1 jersey. I won 3 consecutive district titles and earned a position as a nationally ranked team. I consider that team to be my second family, and I will always have a place in my heart for Hurricane soccer. In the off time from my studies, I played club soccer, traveling all over the state of Florida and sometimes out of state. I put in 14 years of hard work and dedication, fighting through knee surgeries, broken ankles, and exhausted muscles, all for my love of the game. A big part of who I am today can be attributed to everything I learned on that field. I learned what hard work really is, how important it is to be a part of a team, and what commitment to a team is, and how it's bigger than something than yourself. While soccer was always a huge part of my life, it wasn't all that I did. Growing up in Florida, the ocean was my backyard. I could have spent hours on the boat if I had the opportunity to do so. I was an avid fisherman, and I still am. There was always something special about having a big fish on the end of my line that gave me such joy. If I wasn't on the boat, I was most likely in the water, or better yet, underwater. Spearfishing was another hobby of mine. There was always something special about that time spent underwater, immersed in a completely different world that was so peaceful to me. If you've ever dove before, you can understand how sound is perceived differently underwater, and how the background noise that we are constantly consumed by simply fades away. It's crazy to me how something that brought me such peace morphed into one of the scariest moments of my entire life. On June 23rd, 2018, I had just returned from what I consider to be the vacation of a lifetime, traveling to France, Spain, and Ibiza with my girlfriend and her family. I was invited to go to the end of the year club soccer party at one of my teammates' house on a lake. That day was full of great memories. I had a lot of fun playing soccer in the yard, tubing, and wakeboarding behind the boat. A couple of my close friends decided to take the jet skis out for a ride around the lake, and I chose to wait on the dock. I decided to climb up on the roof while I waited. I wanted to dive in the water, something I had done thousands of times flawlessly. I didn't climb up on that roof covering the boat lift to impress anybody or to showboat. I simply thought it would be fun. I dove off the dock without a thought, and in the next moment, I changed the course of the rest of my life. I hit the bottom hard, and I can still remember that distinctive thud and the ringing in my ears on initial impact. After that, it became a fight for my life. When I hit the bottom, I fractured cervical vertebrae 1, 3, 6, and 7. I was instantly paralyzed from the chest down, meaning I had no movement in my legs or in my core to help me swim. I swam as hard as physically capable, pumping my arms as hard as possible, trying to get to the surface. But my body was in shock, and it wasn't enough. I never had a thought that I could potentially die from this, but instead, the only thing that raced through my mind was air. I remember looking towards the surface, looking at the sunlight come through, wondering if I was going to make it up. I was struggling, and I was scared. I was drowning. But that's not how my story ends. I remember seeing my friend swim right above me, and I remember reaching out, trying to grab in any way I possibly could. He couldn't see me because the water was so murky, but in that instant, I was able to make contact, and he pulled me to the surface. My friend undoubtedly saved my life that day. Everyone who was there played a role in saving my life, and I am forever grateful. I was immediately transported to Tampa General Hospital, where they rushed me into surgery as soon as possible. It was a 7-hour surgery where they fused vertebrae C4 through T1. We waited patiently to speak with a neurosurgeon after I got out. It was then that my family and I received the news that inspired this entire talk. I was told that I would probably never walk again. I would never play the sport I loved, and they didn't know if I would recover at all. I think I witnessed my parents' hearts break right in front of me. I am a strong person, but there is something about witnessing the people who love you so unconditionally utterly break down right before your eyes that affects you like nothing else. I would say I was devastated, but I think at that point, I didn't fully comprehend the meaning of that word. I was transported 1 week later to Shepherd Center in Atlanta, Georgia. And this is where my story really began. This is where I had to learn how to live my life again with a spinal cord injury. I was diagnosed with a C6-7 spinal cord injury, meaning that while I fractured vertebrae C1 and C3, the cord wasn't damaged at that point. If the cord had been damaged at C1, I probably wouldn't be here giving you this talk today. I probably would have died on impact. I am extremely grateful that that didn't happen. The first week at Shepherd Center is where I learned what I consider to be the most important life lesson. I spent 4 excruciatingly long months doing physical and occupational therapy from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. every day of the week. I worked harder than I ever had. Like I said, I had to relearn how to live my life completely. So where do you go from here? What do you do when there are no answers to your problems? How do you move on? For me, it was obviously physical at first. I had to put in a lot of physical work into my therapy. But there came a time where my mind and my body were exhausted. I missed the simplest of things: walking on the beach with my girlfriend, hugging my parents, helping others. But I couldn't dwell on these things. This is where I learned how powerful our minds truly are. Everyone has their struggles. Everyone has their problems. But it is how we move on from these and how we respond that makes us who we are. I decided that I could not focus on the things that happened to me before. I couldn't control what happened to me, but I can control how I move forward. I could let my injury break me down and destroy me, but what good would that do? Nothing. What makes people who they really are is how they move forward with their life. My story is not over. I refuse to let it be. I can control where I move on, and I can control my destiny. Thank you.